What I want to touch on is God's vindication. I did take notes on this one, but I want to touch on God's vindication. And I just kind of want to give a breakdown because these are some notes that I was taking that I kind of got. So, yeah. God's vindication. When you are waiting on God's vindication, it usually means you've been deeply misunderstood, falsely accused it, or forced to swallow a bitter pill, while the people who hurt you seem to be skating by completely fine. And that is how I think that a lot of us feel when it comes to things that we go through in life. We feel like, okay, you got to swallow the bitter pill, but they get to just skate back completely scotch-free. Nothing going on. Okay? So that's how we do feel when it comes to God's vindication sometimes. It's like, how did they get away with that? But I couldn't. How am I going through this and swallowing this bitter pill and having to deal with this level of being misunderstood, and they just are completely just skating through freely? That's how we feel. I don't feel like it's nothing wrong with those emotions, because I feel like those are emotions that God already knew He gave us to feel. And God knew that if I gave you these emotions to feel because you're human, I knew you were going to feel these. I knew you was going to feel all these emotions behind whatever took place in that moment. And it's normal and it's okay to feel it. I think the difference is like, feel it, process it, and you deal with it. But don't allow that to be the end all be all for you. You know, like, don't allow that to be your whole life now. Okay. It is exhausting, a heavy space to live in. Your natural human instincts is to defend yourself, clear your name, or fight back. But spiritually, vindication is about complete different strategy. It's like letting God handle the courtroom while you step off the witness stand. Even in the Bible, many times God shows His vindication. God's vindication isn't about God making you look good at the end. It's about God protecting your destiny when you chose silence over retaliation. 3 patterns of divine God's vindication. In the Bible, it shows distinct patterns in how God handles scales of justice when His people are wronged. And my battery's gonna go dead, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Joseph. When Joseph was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, he didn't try to argue or sue for He didn't try to argue or sue. I always have a hard time with this word, for basically character assassination. He went straight to the prisons. Look at the massive detail. It said, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and He gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. God didn't stop the lie from happening, but He kept the lie from stopping Joseph's favor. True vindication is the trap your enemy set for you accidentally, because the elevator that takes you to the next level. And I hope y'all understanding it, because I'm reading from my notes. So I'm reading again. God didn't stop the lie from happening, but He kept the lie from stopping Joseph's. God didn't stop the lie from happening, but He kept the lie from stopping Joseph's favor. True vindication is the trap your enemy set for you accidentally, and it becomes the elevator of what takes you to the next level. So if you look at it with Joseph, right? and the lie that Potiphar's wife told on him. And he went to prison and all of that. But if you look at it, it's like God was literally showing Joseph, even though all of this happened to you, I'm not going to allow it to stop the favor that I have on you. I'm not going to allow this to stop your destiny. I'm not going to allow this to stop the favor that I'm actually have on your life for what I need you to do. I'm not going to allow this to stop the purpose of why I got you here. I'm not going to allow this to just be just null and void, and you don't see your purpose and your destiny coming out of this. So God was, to me, my opinion, God was literally trying to show Joseph, in spite of you being thrown in prison, in spite of the lies, in spite of the betrayal, in spite of all of this, God was showing Joseph, I'm still going to give you the vindication. I'm still going to show up for you. I'm still going to show you that the destiny and the favor and the purpose of what I have for your life is still going to come to pass. You're going to stand in the destiny and the purpose of what I need you to be for me. So God was still letting Joseph understand that even in prison, I'm giving you favor. I gave you favor even with the prison guard. You know what I'm saying? So God literally was covering and protecting Joseph and still giving Joseph favor even while he was in prison. Because God knew that I'm not going, my vindication is stronger than the lies they tell. God knew that my vindication is stronger than them misunderstanding you. God knew his vindication was stronger than the fact that Joseph got set up by Potiphar's wife. God knew that his vindication is stronger than anything that came up against Joseph. And that's why God continued to get, that's why God kept giving Joseph favor even in prison. That's why God kept still letting Joseph know, I'm still going to elevate you even where you at. I'm still going to show you your destiny throughout all of this. I'm going to show you that you're going to come out of this, and I'm going to show you my vindication. So I think with Joseph and like the Potiphar wife and everything that was lied on, the betrayal, that had to be painful. But it was like God was showing Joseph, I'm with you. My favor haven't left you. I haven't left you. Even in the midst of this, I'm going to show you what my vindication looks like. I'm going to show you who I am. I'm going to show you who I am in you. The battle belongs to the silent. When Miriam and Aaron openly gossiped about Moses, Moses didn't defend himself because Moses stayed quiet. God spoke up, and God literally called a sudden meeting in the clouds and corrected Miriam and Aaron directly. So even when you look at that, even with the gossip of how they would gossip about Moses and all of that, God literally showed up on behalf of God. God literally showed up on behalf of Moses to let them know, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and God was literally showing Moses his vindication. You know what I'm saying? Because Moses kept silent. Moses didn't feel the need to like have to give a rebuttal or try to defend himself. But Moses already knew, you go ahead and talk what you talk. But I promise you, God gonna show his vindication in the end. And God did. David did the same with Saul. He had Saul's coat in his hand, and he could have ended the man who was hunting him. Instead, David cut a corner of the robe and left it to God, saying, the Lord judge between me and thee. And David had the opportunity to kill that man that was hunting him down. Like, the opportunity was right in front of David for him to kill that man that was hunting him down. But David didn't. And David knew within himself, I'm not going to lay a finger on you. I'm going to cut a corner of this coat, but I'm not going to touch you. I'm going to let God judge between me and you. And David knew the power and the strength and the silence that it took for him to trust God more than he trusted his own flesh, his own self, his own ability to kill that man that was hunting him down. And David knew it. Like, David just knew that it was something about God that was going to give him vindication. And David, like, literally made a choice to say, okay, I could kill this man right now for hunting me down. I'm in a position to kill him. I can do it. But I don't want to. I'm going to let God judge this situation. I'm going to let God judge this whole situation. I'm going to let God judge between me and between you. I'm going to let God judge between my actions and your actions. And David did. And if you look at it in the end, David ended up getting everything that God had in store for him. Because David didn't take matters into his own hands. Moses didn't take matters into his own hands. Joseph didn't even take matters into his own hands. They literally left it right there with God. Not to say they wasn't hurt. Not to say they wasn't disappointed. Not to say it wasn't painful. Not to say that it wasn't a lot that was going through their mind and everything that was happening to them. But literally it was a choice. One choice shifted the whole game. One choice shifted the whole entire outcome. And that choice that Joseph made, he didn't take vindication. He didn't take retaliation into his own hands. He left that to God. Moses didn't take retaliation into his own hands. He left it to God. David didn't take retaliation into his own hands. He literally left all of that on the table with God. And that is where we can be at times. We can feel so misunderstood. We can feel like people have backstabbed us. We can feel hurt. We can feel pain. And then it's like, okay, God, I want to react, but it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So I'm going to leave it on the table with you. And I'll let you handle this, how you need to handle this. But I have to keep moving forward. I got things I got to do. I got other things I got to focus on. I got healing that I got to do for myself. I got opportunities ahead of me that I got to stay focused on. I have a life. I have my children I have to focus on. I have my grandchildren I have to focus on. I have things. I have my spiritual health I have to focus on. I have my mental health I got to focus on. I have my emotional being I got to focus on. I have my physical that I have to focus on. I have my financial situations I have to focus on. So I have to keep moving forward. And I'm going to leave this at the table with you, God. Now you can handle it. Because I won't. And I'll leave you with this. Side note. True vindication often looks like quiet mind, a light heart, and a life full of peace. That the old noise can't even reach you anymore. Let the divine take the wheel on this one so you can finally rest. I'll read it again. Side note. True vindication often looks like a quiet mind, a light heart, and a life full of peace. that the old noise can't even reach you anymore. Let the divine take the wheel on this one so you can finally find some rest for yourself.